So. You can't be too familiar with God is what I call today's talk. You cannot be too, and we're back to me. You cannot be too, yeah, ignore that man looking at me. What I'm saying is so much more important. Trust me on this one. Trust me. You cannot be too familiar with God. Now, growing up, I thought I was supposed to maintain a respectful distance from God. That God was, I never had any notion that God was my friend. That God, I would hear God as my father, but that didn't help. That just meant absentee. So it didn't. It was really through beginnings of 12-step recovery and then coming into unity, and I heard that God doesn't love me. I thought, oh, that's interesting, and that God cannot love you because God cannot not love you. God is love itself. I thought, oh, that's very different, isn't it? God is love itself, so there can never be an absence of love. There can never be any conditions to it. And that's the kind of stuff we need to get familiar with. And I think that was the Jesus method of spirituality, is that he sought to get really familiar with his invisible source, so that he knew how it worked all the time, and how it could work to even greater and greater degrees. And it was by understanding that God is principle. And I like that. Let me put this down here because I got a couple of notes that I might want to look at. That God is principle. And of knowing that God is principle, then I can get on board with God being presence, or omnipresence, as it were, presence itself, all the presence that is. That's what God is. And so with that, I can get a greater grasp that there's not some conditional person deciding to get around to me when they can. Oh, God is principle, and I live in principle. Or God is mind, capital M mind, God as mind. If I start to look at that, then I can start to look at God is omniscience, or God is intelligence, all the intelligence that there is. Intelligence itself. And if that's God, then I don't have to wonder what God's thinking. God is mind, and I just have to step into mind consciously. I've never stepped out of mind, ever. I've never been away from mind. I've never been away from what God is. I've only pretended that I didn't understand. I've only pretended that I was too busy, or that it was too hard, or that it was too whatever, or I just simply didn't want to know, because I can't know love and then behave in certain ways. I cannot know love in my conscious mind and go and behave unlovingly. You can't do it. And so therefore you have to ignore what you know to be true in God and go over and do these things and then come back to it when you're ready. And I think we pick and choose. Okay, I don't want to know about God right now. I'm busy, I'm being private. And but the funny part is, take God with you into go behaving unlovingly. Take God with you and see what happens. Take God into your private places. Take God into anywhere where you think you would be judged by God as not being godly enough. Take God with you. Take love with you. Take intelligence with you. Take peace and joy with you into your battles, into your confrontations, into your shame, into your embarrassment, into your guilt. Take God with you. Take God into your abuse of yourself or another. Take God with you, and then see what happens. Don't put God aside from your mind so that you can go and act out. Take God into the acting out, and then see what happens. Some of your acting out might lose some of its fizz. It may not be nearly as interesting or exciting, but that might be for the best, don't you think? But if you need a cookie today, take God with you to the cookie counter. If you, seriously, if you, whatever it is you're going to do, take God into your conscious mind with you, not as a judger, but as love, as one that is not concerned for you, just simply loves you. Take God that way. Become very familiar with God, so that when you look in the mirror, you see God. So that when you get up in the morning and you go to brush your teeth, as I assume you do, you can say, you can honestly say, "Hi, God," and see God smiling right back at you. And that's how big God becomes. What's the word? Humanized? I don't know. You start to see God in the human form, because it's your form that's looking back at you in the mirror, but your form is smiling at you. It's not criticizing you. It's not looking to see what's wrong. It's seeing God, and this is what God looks like. And that is how you become familiar. Oh, I am walking as God. I am speaking as God. I am living as God. And it's not nearly so mystical as it used to be. And it's certainly not so horrifying. As Glenn back there said in his share earlier, I did this and I survived. As if I might do it and drop dead. I might get up in public and do improvisation and drop dead. Those are the alternatives. It's not just that something I try to have be funny didn't land. No, I will die. And what is it they say? Some people, they're so afraid of public speaking, they'd rather be the one in the casket than doing the eulogy. Because it's just so horrifying to be out there and risk being judged, risk being praised, risk being accepted or rejected. I just spent 5 days, morning and night, risking it. And the only thing we planned was the opening sequence that I planned with my co-MC, and I did this bit. I'm not going to tell you about it now because I might do it somewhere else sometime. But I want you to be surprised. And even that I was nervous about, because they're not used to humor at these events. They're used to a more ethereal. Everybody's spiritual, and they talk like this. And the presence of God is with us once again as we all come together which is very nice, and it's all very true. But I'd rather have some laughs. And I created an opening bit that got lots and lots of laughs. I was so relieved and grateful. But a couple of things did not land, and you just move on. You just move on rather than go into your head and now they hate me. It went from it didn't land to they hate me, they're never going to ask me back. No, then you go on to the next thing you think is funny, and then you find out if it is. I had a friend who was a minister, and she used to kind of yell at the people, she told me, if they didn't laugh. She said, "These are the jokes, folks." And I said, "No." I said, "Here's the deal. What you said wasn't funny. How do you know? They didn't laugh." Move on. Don't make them wrong because they didn't laugh at what wasn't funny. And you go from there, so that it's not life or death. It's experience. Take God with you into the experience. If they laugh, you take God into it. If they don't laugh, you take God into it. Because God is love itself. Can you imagine if you knew that you were loved with an inexhaustible source and supply of love at every moment, and everything else is just thoughts? But there's no absence of the source and the supply of love. Ever. Not ever. And so, not this moment, but in your free time, go back in your life and decide that whatever was going on, there was not an absence of love. I just wasn't aware of it. I just didn't see it. And perhaps if I had been aware of it, things could have been different. But they couldn't have been unless I had had different thoughts. And so therefore, they were the experiences they were because of the thoughts I was having while these events were taking place. Here's the good news. They got me here. And they got you here. And you couldn't be here if that hadn't taken place with your thoughts. Don't even worry about their thoughts. Your thoughts. You could not be here as you are without having had all those thoughts that got you here. And I really invite you to know that you are loved with an everlasting, inexhaustible love right here, right now. You've always been, and you're always going to be. We cannot not be in an inexhaustible, everlasting love. We can't be. And so we can relax a little bit and say, okay, I'm loved. I don't know how I'm loved, but I am. Okay, it hurts, but I'm still loved. Fine. And if you start living your life that way with those thoughts, things start to shift. And an ease comes with the living of life. We don't have to dread the next moment if this moment could be considered good. The only reason I fear pain is I think it will last forever. The only reason I fear grief is because I think it will last forever. The only reason I fear rats is because I think they will last forever. I fear losing my reason, my sense of reason, with certain things. The top of a roller coaster will do that with me. Big height out in the open. I can start to lose my sense of reason, where I want to climb out of the car, which is not reasonable thinking at the top of a roller coaster. So I keep my eyes closed. And in certain places, I haven't yet seen the healing measures. I tried a few times to say, oh, not there yet, thank you. And so that's why I like Space Mountain at Disney, because it's all in the dark.
Yeah.
That's a fun roller coaster to me. I like all the sensations. I don't like seeing the world from the top of it. And so but still to know, while I have fear at the top of a roller coaster, I am loved with an everlasting, inexhaustible supply of love. There is no God that is making fun of me because I'm experiencing fear right now. There is no God that is worried for me because I'm experiencing some sort of sensation, some sort of fear, some sort of concern. There may be people who make fun of us, but that's because they forgot. That's all. That's just because they forgot in that moment. Or they're my angel, reminding me that I am loved by way of there being a creep to make fun of me. And go anyway. Everything can be used to remember I am loved. Everything. And the sooner I get to that memory, the easier every situation comes, because even in success we can forget we are loved. Even in our greatest success, getting everything we had hoped for, and then that fear comes in. But what about the next thing? But what about the next thing? I've told you before, I went for a lot of years being nominated for this one MAC award for technical direction without winning. I didn't win until my 11th nomination. And it hurt my feelings a little, I don't mind telling you, because I had thoughts about it to the point where I got embarrassed. Not because anybody embarrassed me, but because I felt unpopular, even though I was not in the finals every single year. And then I won. And it was nice. I got an ovation like nobody's business. And then I won the next year. And then the third year, I won a third year in a row. And that third year, I remember walking down to accept it. In my head, I was going, I wonder if I'm going to win next year. I had not said thank you yet. And I was already gearing up for not winning the next year for my emotions. Because Scott Coulter, who said, winning doesn't feel nearly as good as losing feels bad. and so, but it's all what I tell myself when I forget I am loved with an everlasting, inexhaustible source of love. With an everlasting, inexhaustible. I want to read a couple of things here that ideas are living things. God is the source of our ideas. God doesn't make us think. God gave us the ability to think. Good orderly direction gives us the ability to think, but it doesn't give us our thoughts. Our thoughts we take, we pick, we choose, we keep some, we throw others away. But the ideas themselves are living things, and they manifest all over the place. Our ideas are just always manifesting. They're coming to life, our ideas, all over the place, sometimes in the form we imagine them, and sometimes in a different form, sometimes in a better form, sometimes in a less substantial form. You know, the chairs have come together. You know, these chairs came here in a substantial form. How do I know that? Not one of you were on the floor. So we got the chairs we'd hoped for, not the collapsible ones. But it was an idea. When Kenneth took over as music director, he said, I want a stage. And we had one within a few weeks. First I found out what it was going to cost. I said, we want a stage, and it's going to cost this. Somebody raised their hand and said, I'll pay for it. And then Lee pitched in, and Kenneth pitched in, and I think Lars came in and helped. And they built a stage because we needed height. Now a few people, we can't have a stage. Well, why can't we? Well, it's dangerous. What they said. I haven't seen anybody fall over it yet. In fact, it's only enhanced Unity Center of Norwalk to have this stage because we've become a performance space. We've become accessible. You know, up here, even the shortest person in the room in the back can see me. And that's what's lovely. It's hard to imagine this ever wasn't here.
Yeah.
I'm vaguely remembering it when I started here. Oh, I was all the way down there. But so ideas are living things. They have movement. They flow, and they go in and out. They ebb and flow, and then they come into manifestation into the physical eventually. And that's why hold your ideas. And if it's not manifesting, ask yourself: is the idea big enough? Is the idea good for everyone? Well, everyone. Is there anyone who won't benefit from this idea? And if you hear, well, there are people who will be left out from this idea. Because of you, not because of if you hear, well, somebody might be left out, but it's only because they're afraid. Do not let that inhibit your idea. It's up to other people to come forth and get stronger and build and grow. We're not here to keep everybody else small and stay small ourselves because others are afraid. No, we must make big decisions, big choices. And big is relative. You know, it's bigger to you than it. Therefore, come for it and see what happens. Now, an idea that came is, what was the idea back of Jesus' work by healing the sick and raising the dead? And what I've written here is, as Jesus had familiarized himself with the idea of substance, for God is substance, so also had he become acquainted with the life idea. The life idea, I like that. He understood what it was to live abundantly, to have abundant life. Life without beginning and without end. There's changing a whole new concept. It means the body is not life itself. It means life is life itself. Without beginning, without end. So therefore, life takes different forms, or it unforms and reforms, or, life is so much more and so much bigger than we had currently imagined it. But if I start thinking in terms of life, everlasting, then I don't have to limit my life with thoughts of sickness, with thoughts of unwellness. And so what it says here is, because of this consciousness, he could make use of the life idea in healing the sick and raising the dead. And his familiarity with the idea enabled him to overcome death in his own organism. He undoubtedly knew that a divine idea never passes away. Do you hear that? A divine idea never passes away. And yet we use the term, he passed away. but a divine idea. I am a divine idea. You are a divine idea. You are a divine idea. You. All of us are divine ideas that came into manifestation. And therefore, we will never pass away. You look at the World Trade Center, and it took a very different form. But did the idea of it pass away? No, we still are all holding the idea of the World Trade Center. It just doesn't have the same form it once had. And so to remember things like that. He undoubtedly knew that a divine idea never passes away, that life is always present in all its purity, and that what man needs is to become conscious of the presence and power of life. So, you want wellness? You must become conscious of the presence of power and life. Excuse me. You need to become conscious of the presence and power of life. Wellness in every bone. You're welcome. Well, wellness in every tissue, every fiber of our being. It's interesting to me, most of you know, several of us have been on this diet, this fast metabolism diet. And in this diet, it does exclude wheat and dairy and sugar, caffeine for the most part. And it's supposed to be all the time, but I like a nice tea here and there. What I've noticed within the first 2 weeks is my knees stopped hurting. Going up and down steps, my knees weren't hurting. Interesting, my body wasn't achy. And of course I was dropping weight. And last week, while I was away. Now, I did not overindulge myself with calories, but I did experiment again with some few substances that wasn't supposed to.
Texas-shaped waffles.
Yeah, they made me Texas-shaped waffles this morning. I like a waffle. I really enjoy a big waffle, especially in a hotel. And so I thought, I'm away. I'm going to have a waffle. And then it was Texas-shaped. And it was delicious with strawberries and syrup and butter. And then I had bread twice with meals. I had bread and butter, which didn't taste the same to me. And I had some sugar. I had some at the Alamo. You know where you go get good fudge? The Alamo. I remember the Alamo now because it has great fudge. They make it there. It's crazy. There's a fudge making section at the Alamo gift shop, and I recommend it. Especially the chewy praline. It was tasty. But anyway, I noticed a difference in my body, especially by the end. I thought, I'm a little slower. I didn't quite go back into pain level, but I knew the difference. So it was nice to get back. And yesterday I started my vegetable shakes again. And it's not like I'm deprived on this diet. It's just I don't need that other stuff like I used to, and I didn't. Sometimes you don't know what you're in while you're in it. I remember the first time I quit smoking. For I don't know how long, but for a while. And then I went back, and I felt awful. I thought, is this what I used to feel like every day, and I didn't know it? Because I was 12 when I started. And I was not anywhere close to 12 when I finished. I was in my 30s. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is what I felt like all the time. Dirty and icky. Icky, the medical term, icky. And then I put them down a few months later, and I've never bothered to pick them up since. So I see the difference, and I'm glad. So I'm glad I had my waffles last week and stuff, just to know the difference. So you see, I wasn't bad. And at not one day did I think, I'm going to be bad and eat this. That just grinds me when it's my judgment when I hear that, I'm going to be bad and do this. No, you're not bad. You want it. You're not ready to not do it. That's all it really comes down to. I want it, and I'm not ready to not want it. Because you see, in order to stop doing it, we don't have to not want it at all. We just have to not want it more than we want it. That's all, just which is weighs on the scale heavier. See, it's about love. Love. We will release that which is no longer working for us faster if we do it with love than if we do it with thinking that sin somehow is existing, or I am bad for my behaviors, my thoughts. I invite you to remember all the time, I have never left God. God and I are not apart. It may seem like it. God and I have never been apart. And God is not apart from those I fear. God and those I fear are never separated either. God is not a person. God is a prince. God is principle. God is love. God is peace. God is intelligence. Imagine taking those you fear on this earth the most and imagining them being God beings. Imagine them conscious of their oneness with God. Imagine them as you're imagining yourself. Imagine them. You know, all those people on this planet that seem to be out of integrity according to your judgments and your opinions. All those people on this planet, perhaps even in your household, in your government, in your wherever, that seem to be separated from God. Reconnecting your mind and see yourself willing to know that they are connected. Become familiar with how God works, with how principle works. Become familiar with how love works. Love isn't always nice, but love is always love. Become familiar with how love works in your finances, how intelligence works in your finances. Become aware or familiar with how love works with your body, how God works with your system, how intelligence works with your system. Imagine in your prayers you're asking not of God, but of yourself for divine intelligence. Asking of yourself in your prayer time for divine love in your awareness to your body, to your money, to your relationships, to your home, to your work, to your play, to all that you see. Imagine yourself doing that so that when stuff that comes up that seems unlike God, you say, oh, that can't be. That can't be unlike God. There has to be God in it. There absolutely has to be God in it. Because there can't not be God in it. There can't not be love in it. There can't not be peace and joy in this. David just had a minor thing on the highway with somebody, and they had such an amicable thing, and David paid him. The man went to 2 different places to get an appraisal, and he found the lower one. And told David sent him a check, and done. Done. How quickly, how easily. David didn't have to hate himself for it, and nor did he have to break the bank. He didn't have to imagine the most money. He could imagine the least, and that's what they got. And I find that impressive. So, these quotations sum up the true character of God and our relationship to God. The truth is then that God is principle, law, being, mind, spirit, all good, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, unchangeable, creator, cause, and source of all that is. Do you hear that? No, it doesn't say source of some things. Mm-hmm. It says source of all things. You must understand that which you don't like, you also draw from mind. Let's be very clear on that. That which you don't like isn't separate from God. It's just temporary. That part of it, those thoughts, all the thoughts are temporary, but they're all living things. So that God is individually formed in consciousness in each of us and is known to us when we recognize God within as our creator, as our mind, as our life, as our very being. That mind has ideas, and that ideas have expression, that all manifestations in our world is the result of the ideas that we are holding in mind and are expressing. And that to bring forth or to manifest the harmony of divine mind or the kingdom of heaven, all our ideas must be one with divine ideas and must be expressed in the divine order of divine mind. Charles Fillmore wrote these things in his book Christian Healing, chapter 16. So start acknowledging divine mind is active and alive in me now. Divine intelligence is active and alive in me now. Divine peace and divine joy is active and present in me now. Sing it, sister. I'll read one other thing to you. And it comes from the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, Matthew chapter 10. No. Oh, but no. It's Matthew chapter 5. That is verse 38 it starts with. And it says, with your eyes of judgment, you see many brothers and sisters doing different things. You judge the things they do as good things or bad things, based on the judgments you have given to what they do. You judge your brothers and your sisters as good or as bad. In your judgments of them, you separate them from one another and from yourself. And so you see many sons where the Father of heaven sees only one. For the Father of heaven has declared that it only has one Son, capital S, Son, and that Son is but an extension of God itself. Stop judging your brothers as good or bad or different. Ask God within your heart to show itself to you. It will answer you by showing you that your brother's heart and your sister's heart is the same as yours. And so you and your brothers and your sisters must be the same and therefore one. For only by exceeding the laws of men to follow the law of the heart can you find the truth that lies hidden there. God is spirit, and spirit is all there is. And so you and your brother and your sister must be spirit too. It is your heart that knows this truth, so it is by following your heart that you will be led to see that truth is true. Familiarize yourself with God. You can't overdo it. Thank you.